Welcome. This is a recorded session of the Post-Quantum Cryptography Conference of the PKI Consortium, which took place in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. This conference is made possible through the support of the PKI Consortium Post-Quantum Cryptography Working Group and our sponsors SSL.com, Entrust, Keyfactor, HID, and Crypto4A. And with exceptional organizational support from SSL.com, Keyfactor, Logius, POS Digicert, Baker Tilly, MSC Trustgate, and Digitoris. Join the discussion. Join the PKI Consortium. Go to pkic.org/join.
Sven, are we just waiting for something to pop up on the screen still? Okay, awesome. Wonderful. So it's my pleasure to welcome you to this panel called Navigating the Quantum Era, A Strategic Path to Resilience. I will welcome Lim Huck Hai to the stage as our moderator. Lim, if you wouldn't mind taking it away and introducing your panel, please.
So, good afternoon to all. I think certainly very pleased to see all you still around here. And I know this is the last session. So thank you for your time and to be here. Now, I will go straight to the point because I know that we don't have much time. Now, on my left-hand side, we have is Professor Reza. So this morning you heard, I mean, for those who stayed this morning, you heard a lot about from Megat, who essentially is our chief executive under the Cybersecurity Act, right? So Professor Reza itself is the director at Malaysia Cryptology, Technology and Management Center, which you heard that from Dr. Megat this morning. So he is a man. He is a man with the technical and also with the team and with the resources. All right, you'll hear from him. And of course, next to Professor Reza, you have Peter. You just heard a lot from Peter, right? Peter will give you the view, not just from EU, but globally, right? Of course, you elaborate more. So and then on the next to Peter, you have William G. So William G and myself, we know each other since a long time. So we work together in many projects, including putting out Malaysia Digital Signature Regulation in 1998. So we do together with Attorney General, put out regulation, and also Hong Kong Recognition Office and many other CA projects. And also William and myself, both of us are accountants who know technology. We are chartered accountant from Institute Chartered Accountant England, where we are in the tech faculty, in the board there. So certainly you can have a lot of good view from William, right? And then next to William, you have is Terai San, Osamu Terai. So he is the group CISO at Mizuru Financial Group and board member of Financial IASC Japan. So again, I think by the end of the day, we know that PQC, you cut across, will hit all the sector. But the most important sector we know, or the one that's going to create a lot of motive, for people to try to, whether, break it, is a financial sector. So you'll hear a lot of good view from Mr. Terai, from Terai-san. So I won't take too much time in terms of putting out the scenes of it, but essentially along the topic that you will be hearing from us is on the strategy for strategy path to resilience. Resilience is a big word. And also what it means is that it's just not the short term. This is not just to do with like Y2K, one fix, go on. This essentially will carry us through this quantum era. When will this era will start? Well, it start now, and more importantly, it will arrive. We don't have to wait for 1 million qubit. 5,000 itself enough to break a lot of encryption. So we will look at the path itself in terms of three sectors. One is global strategy and standards. And also we'll look at risk and ownership and the business impact and resilience. So I think without much ado, I will start with the first question to William. And, essentially, William, are you ready? So I think given the NIST baseline, what is the primary risk for APAC jurisdiction in aligning too closely with those standards, and what are the benefits of maintaining a sovereign perspective?
So thanks, Hai, and thanks for the introduction. I think as far as the this baseline is concerned, we are talking about cryptographic standards. It would be good if we all align with the same standard, right? Because if you align with all this same standard, you will not need to use gadgets where you connect things to one thing with another. And in fact, today we have different things, so you turn it around and you connect different computers and sockets and so on. Realistically, as far as national strategy concerns, there is a need to take a sovereign approach. Even though I think, I was in the earlier session talking about standards and protocol on the other side. And there are three blocks. One is the Americas, basically following NIST. The other block is EU, follow NIST, but with some variation. And then the third block, Russia, China, a few other territories that's coming up with their own scheme. Regardless of what you say, today we are in a connected world, and we do have to talk to each other commercially. And so even if you take a sovereign approach, you still need to have that global connectivity. And for, I think, sovereign governments, the important thing is to find a balance between the two. Context, as we were discussing earlier, is important. You can have your defense sector following a sovereign kind of standard, but for your commercial sector, banking and other telecommunication, yeah, you can define your own, but you still need to talk to the other side. So I think it has to be that combination, taking a more realistic approach. And it's not just about cryptographic algorithm. It's about all the protocols, the approach in terms of using hybrid certificates or whatever mechanism. All these tiny little bit of things will impact on the journey.
Thank you, William. Hear me? Yep. Thank you, William. So I think the key part, I think like William was, I think important part is interoperability, right? By the end of the day, I mean, we can come up with various documents. I think there's already so much document out there. It's the same that any cybersecurity thing. Certainly, we do want to generate out more standard. Important part, like I think you heard this morning, and also many people, we are sandbox and actually start cracking on actions or the awareness, like Mr. Peter highlighted. We need the action. We need the more awareness out there actually carry out, not just the more generating more document out. Right? I think by the end of the day, harmonizing standard itself is a big task. No point coming on various other standards, but essentially a sandbox and also the activity. Now, I'm going to ask the professor later, but before I want to come to Peter first. So I think Peter, the considering the collaboration EU model have, I think you have EU at the end of the day, also all the 26 states need to adopt it. What is the single most crucial strategy lesson that you learn? And regarding managing complexity and coordinating migration across multiple sovereign states.
Yeah, I have still my mic. Yes, thank you. I think it's good that we start collaborating in the EU as member states, and it started actually quite small. I think actually the start was when there was this PKI conference in Amsterdam, where Germany and France were there as well, and of course the Netherlands too. And we decided, hey, we need to start working on this together. And from that, there came a working group, and now most of the EU member states are part of that. Now, within the EU, there are very different levels of maturity. And I won't say that the Netherlands or us, we are very mature. I think we still have a lot to do. But on some other areas, there's a lot more to do. But when you want to create a common strategy and a common way forward, you need to take that into account and be also realistic about timelines. I think what was leading for the roadmap is that we assume in 2035 there's actually this risk of quantum computing being able to break RSA. So that is our focus. Then it's also a matter of allocating the right resource to it, and that's now organized in the EU. There are some great initiatives going on. For example, there's this initiative in Germany called QPrep, where they work together with Capgemini in giving courses on PQC migration, on asset discovery, and so on. They're also going to do some in-person workshops where all member states can come there and learn and cooperate together. And I think that's what we need. We need to also define this EU ecosystem.
Thank you. So I think that there's something that essentially Malaysia is working on it right now. The sandbox you heard about, the BlackBerry. I think you're talking about giving an update on Malaysia. Well, of course, we have Professor Reza next to me. I probably will indicate to Prof. Reza probably not talk so much on Malaysia perspective because we heard quite a bit, but more from his perspective for international angle of it. So, Prof, I think the question I have is that, in your view, who should be responsible for the PQC transition? How should organizations effectively balance the internal ownership of cryptographic, right, inventory and crypto agility with their necessary dependency on external vendor roadmaps, right?
Thank you very much. Well, that's an interesting question. But before I try to answer it, we'd just like to take a step back, and let's take a look at the cryptography community or the deployments in the 80s and 90s, 2000s, and whatnot. As you can see, that this is the first time that in recent memory a public key initiative is done through standardization. We've seen a yes, okay, but the story of RSA and ECC is actually a very interesting story, especially coming from an academician. As you can see, in the early days of the 70s, was RSA the only algorithm? The answer is no. Okay, and you have El-Gamal, you have Kramer-Shoup and whatnot. There's a lot of algorithms out there. But these algorithms were actually put into the market, and the market forces actually drove which algorithm eventually made it big in the market. Hence, the idea of about getting the international collaboration, the sovereignty, and who owns is actually a market-driven issue. Okay, you can actually put policies about sovereignty and who owns inventory and whatnot, but at the end of the day, it's all about the market forces driving it. And when ECC came into the picture, it was the need for more efficient algorithms on smart cards, on small devices. So at the end of the day, when we talk about the issue of who owns cryptography, should we have such a situation where you dictate, for example, in the context of international or local, I don't think it is an issue that should be deliberated if not necessary. It's about interoperability. It's about getting the businesses to have a secure environment. At the same time, when you talk internally, what does it mean? It means the security is all about the key. The algorithm is a public domain. So if you want to take control on certain issues, it's about controlling the generation of the keys. And that's where sovereignty lies, actually, in the commercial domain. We have seen examples of published attacks in certain countries, which I think everybody's aware, which we would not mention, where actually the keys generated does not have the correct entropy, and you generate keys which are not strong. You have keys where the primes are not strong primes, and this is where sovereignty lies. At the same time, you can actually go and continue to study the NIST algorithms, which everybody is doing, by the way, and then we can have more parameters. You can make the parameters better and whatnot. But at the end of the day, the algorithm is a public thing. It's only the keys that matters. So that's how I view it in a bigger context, not in the Malaysian context, as Dr. Megat is mentioning about sandbox program and whatnot. And that is what we are doing in the center. We are currently around 50, our strength. And we hope to make a change in how Malaysia adopts cryptography in the future.
I think if you look at the industry, of course, RSA, I wouldn't say lucky, it's strong and it holds us for many years. You never know, even today, you can say that the NIST PQC algorithm is there. You never know how long can they stand, right? Because that part is something that no one can tell. Yes, RSA stand for many years, but the new one, you never know, right? So I think there's always balancing act there, around. So I think I will have one question for the financial service sector side. So I think Terai-san, I think obviously we heard about this thing about harvest now, decrypt later, right? And also the trust now, forge later. So right? Trust now, forge later. You can have digital signature. You can sign on the document, right? And then someone degree can use it to forge the signature, right? So I think those are the two concepts. I think the question have to you for you is that focusing on long-term data confidentiality, right? And of course, the non-repudiation, which quantum threat either is a harvest now, decrypt later, or trust now, forge later, present the greater immediate risk to major financial enterprises and why?
Yes, I think in terms of the immediate risk, so I think the harvest now decrypt later is a greater risk. So assuming that the main target of the HNDL would be the data in transit, so the financial institutions are exchanging a lot of the information, including the very sensitive information over the internet. So from that point of view, so I think the HNDL is the greater risk. So for example, for the the internet banking services, so we may exchange the sensitive information like the customer, for example, medical records for the loan examination or something like that, or the contract information that requires long term confidentiality. So from that point of view, so the HNDL is a risk. And also we have to pay attention to the other use cases like, IPsec connection with the point-to-point sites, or the VPN connection for the remote work employees. So those guys are also, sending or receiving a lot of the sensitive information. So that needs to be taken care of. But having said that, my idea is that we shouldn't put too much focus on the HNDL. So because if you think about who will do the HNDL, so that everyone says it's likely the nation state actors, but so we have the more actors like the financial motivated actors as well. So if you put too much focus on the HNDL, so our mitigation scope might be they shrink. So that's my thought. And Trustner and Forge later. So to be honest, it's new to me. So I've never heard of that phrase. But thinking about that, maybe malicious banking applications. So with forged signatures, or the scams, or the fraud by using the fake electronic documents could be possible. But I think that it's a future risk. But having said that, so if I look at the stable coins spreading as a part of the financial services, so maybe we have to pay more attention to the blockchains, the security.
Thank you. So I think of course, the event right now is in Asia, so I must ask some Asia-specific question. So I'm going to ask the question to both William and also Professor Reza. I think obviously ASEAN itself, Malaysia one the member. There's a 700 million population. So even though it's much smaller population than India, but the total GDP is higher, right? So we have one part. I think that probably Prof can talk from that angle. But of course, the Asia Pacific is more than just ASEAN. China itself is more than 1 billion population, and of course, and also plus Hong Kong, where they have a lot of experience with the development on the Western world. So now, I think the question is Prof. Reza and William. I mean, focusing on the capacity building. What is the most significant unique PQC challenge facing the Asia Pacific region, and how can cross-border collaboration be more effective in overcoming it? So I think probably Prof. Reza, go for that.
Thank you very much. It so happens that last week there was this SICW in Singapore, and at the end there was a ministerial statement. And then the ministerial statement is the PQC era, or the migration towards quantum safe, is an ASEAN objective altogether. No, it's not going to be like a Malaysian aspect or Singapore aspect. It's all together. Echoing in what Dr. Megat mentioned, the ministerial statement which allocated that particular paragraph is actually a culmination of trust. When you trust your neighbors, then that's how you can work on such a sensitive area such as cryptography. Inside that statement, it also touches on capacity building. So when we talk about capacity building, which aspect are we looking at? Are we suddenly going to build a quantum computer, or suddenly going to build a quantum satellite and whatnot? I don't think that's how it's supposed to be. When we talk about capacity building, we're talking about awareness. We're talking about the correct new generation to understand the issues, such that the knowledge that they get basically from the university is put to good use. That is the basic challenge we have in ASEAN, and I think this part of the world, we are now transitioning towards just being a learner of knowledge, but actually to put it into practice. And as you mentioned in the Sandbox program, we have around 30 companies which is producing around 40 technologies. This is part of the way forward of getting them to work together. And to get them to work together is not an easy feat, because we are used to cryptography in a box. Okay, so the box comes and it's there. But now we are talking about crypto agility and things, then how do we know that the local capacity has the ability to make the changes without having too much fuss? And this is the biggest issue, that we know the technology even though it's together with an international partner. And this is how ASEAN looks at it, especially Malaysia looks at it, so that the capacity building is tailored towards that direction as far as PQC era is concerned. Other matters such as building new talent who knows to do programming, who knows mathematics, goes without saying, it's already there in the system, but we need to streamline into the current challenges. So I believe that's the way forward, and that is what we're putting into action right now.
And then just to add on to it, one of the interesting aspect in terms of Asia is, we have many different countries. We don't have a Brussels equivalent. It may be a good thing, it may not be, but having so it actually boils down to organizations like kind of regional economic, APEC and ASEAN, and also industry association to actually help and facilitate the sharing. I wear different hats. I'm the vice chair of the Asia PKI Consortium. And for the last 2 years, we've been talking about this particular issue. And the PKI infrastructure in many Asian countries, they have slight subtle variances in terms of how CAs are regulated, the structure of the root, the trust hierarchy, and so on, the types of certificates. So when you actually get to fix the problem, is more complicated than what meets the eye. And so what we are trying to do at a association level is to have that dialogue, talking, sharing. It's wonderful to be here today. Certainly learning a lot from all the speakers and experts over the last 2 days. And so keep that going, and hopefully we'll kind of find a path, and collaboratively we can actually get there together. And the trick, as you were saying, can we get to the finish line all at the same time? And I think that is the problem.
Yeah. So we started with Peter, the last session. I'm going to finish last question with Peter. Right? So I think Peter, how can we reframe PQC migration as the driver of core business resilience, a strength rather than simply insurance against a future threat?
Yeah, I think in one of the slides I show a bit like how can we connect quantum security risk to business risk, and I think that is one of the keys on how we can come across to the different levels in our organization, also in governments, and say if we don't act now, we're going to be too late, and we're going to be very vulnerable. So of course there are a lot of different use cases, and that's actually what makes it a bit harder. It's not like there's one story out there that applies for everyone. So within your organization or in your sector, you have to see, all right, how can we connect to something? And it could be compliance. When we're talking, for example, with the energy sector, by Dutch law, they have to deliver energy 99.99, I think, % of time. If they don't deliver, there will be huge fines. It's a vital part, of course, of the country. And by law, they need to do that, otherwise they have a big issue. Now, if you can connect that goal, that target, that business goal, towards the fact that, hey, your whole infrastructure that relies on cryptography will be vulnerable, so with an attack, and we know that some state actors, they will use quantum computing power against vital industries. We've seen that, we know, for example, in the Russia-Ukraine war, we've seen also very clearly that Russia will attack those vital industries. So why wouldn't they use quantum computing for the same? So we have to take that into account.
Thank you. So we have some time for the question, either from the floor or from the internet.
Yeah, do we have any questions in the room for our panel? Wonderful, please.
Thank you. My name is Enrique. I'm from the government of a state in Mexico called Sinaloa. And I wanted to ask you, which will be the path to start implementing post-quantum encryption policies and technologies in the most austere way, like not expensive, not make a great investment in money yet. So which way would it be?
Thanks. A little bit diversion. In Malaysia, the chief executive of NACSA had issued the Chief Executive Order number 9 on September 22nd, which mandates all national critical infrastructure to actually produce the inventory upon being served the notice. So that is maybe one way forward regarding management, how to get your agencies moving. As far as Malaysia is concerned, regarding the cost and the most austere way, this is an open question, but we think that one of the ways is through the sandbox program. We think it hasn't been proven yet, but we see that throughout the 5 and 6 months that have lapsed during our sandbox program, we do see a spirit of sharing technology where the deployment can actually be a tweak in the system. But again, the business has to create a new section of business because they are going to actually have lose part of the business. But there is a win-win situation where there is an unexplored territory called the intellectual property domain, where those spending, if they have a share in intellectual property, are actually investing back into their own system again. So I will end at that because it's not a proven way forward, but that is how we plan to do it in order to save some costs, because it's a big issue to do this migration.
Thank you.
I could maybe add to that. I don't know if you're familiar with the PQC Migration Handbook. I already mentioned it in the presentation. And in the beginning of that handbook, a big part is about no regret moves. And these are measures that you can take that are not necessarily already a technical move for PQC, but actually helps you prepare. And while preparing, you already make your own cybersecurity right now much better. So you can, for example, think about asset discovery, asset management, lifecycle management, talking with vendors. Also, part of that is there are a lot of courses available for free about PQC, about quantum computing, about cryptography, that your team, people that work for you can already start doing that. And they only cost a little bit of time, but at least they get on a bit of a better level than they are now, maybe. So I think there are a lot of resources out there that are free, available, that can, you can educate your team, and for that prepare for almost no money. And once you actually have budget, then you can start from a very good position, I think.
Excellent, wonderful. And with that, I think we unfortunately ran out the clock, but a very engaging and interesting discussion. Thank you very much to our panelists.
Yep.
Please welcome me, or join me in thanking them.
Thank you.
Oh, did you want to get a quick photo together? Okay.